episode of Tech Hour with Kevin and Pat. My name's Kevin.
And I'm Patrick, and on this show, we're on a quest to learn every detail about the smart home industry, including protecting it, which is why we have our special guest, Jimmy Paschke, the Director of Sales at SurgeX. How you doing, man?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Feels good to be with you guys today. I appreciate the time.
We appreciate the time more. We are very new at this, and yeah, we're so happy. Can you tell us a little bit about SurgeX and yourself?
Yeah, sure. I started with SurgeX in 2014. The company's been around more than 25 years, pretty much heavily focused on the commercial side of the business, large-scale corporations, arena, stadiums, house of worship, the Infocom crowd. And my predecessor began focusing SurgeX on the residential side of things probably a few years or so ahead of me joining in 2014. And I really picked up from where he left off, and we've been growing the business ever since in the CEDIA channel. It's been great.
Awesome. Now, I am pretty aware of the SurgeX product in the industry. I used to work at the casinos, and we used to install those in slot machines. We were basically trying to sell them out to all our different casinos. So what is, I guess they do the same thing in the residential industry. How does that, how does that fit in the residential industry?
So I just kind of want to break away from that for a minute and just talk about 2021 and, making money, business, all that sort of thing. So as you see, we started a new podcast. We're only, a few episodes in. And we decided to use Anchor to make this podcast. And if you haven't heard about this platform, Anchor is, I'd say, by far the easiest way to make a podcast, and I'll explain why. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record right from your phone or your computer. And Anchor actually distributes it to all the major podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Tunes. There's a bunch more I can't really remember off the top of my head. And everything you need to make the podcast is pretty much in one place or right on the app. So super simple to use. So if you guys are interested in taking that step forward and making a podcast, just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Super simple to use, and I bet Pat would agree with me 100% on this. But anyways, so yeah, let's continue what we were talking about here.
Well, when you were focused on the casino market, you might have been very concerned about the protection of the slot machine. And I'm sure that that's a pretty sizable investment, especially when you multiply that times the number of slot machines you might be accustomed to in a ordinary casino, right?
Right.
In the home side, we really have noticed, I would say in the last probably 5 years, that the solid power foundation and the ability to control for power remotely needed to come together in order to ensure that we mitigated for most power events and anomalies that we might see present in a home, and in a corporate installation, house of worship. That never really changed. It just seems to have become more pronounced as the sensitivity of AV devices has really escalated over the last 3 to 5 years.
Exactly. In the smart home industry now, we still have the same sort of rickety electrical system, and things are becoming smarter. Everything has its own processor, and all those things definitely need to be protected. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And protection is. Yeah, Kevin.
Oh no, go right ahead. Sorry.
Well, protection is an interesting notion, I guess. But I've had that hit me probably 2 times this week. There's a new projector out from Sony, and it's a nice one, apparently, laser projector. It's 240 volts capable. So, everyone's looking for a power solution for that. And that's a tricky one. Not everyone has 240 volt product out there from the power management folks. But when I hear protection, I wonder if we're thinking about it fully enough, right? So when I hear the term protection, I'm thinking, they must think they need to protect against surges, or motor loads that are kicking on throughout the home, hair dryer,
Right.
compressors, appliances, etc. But really, my mission with my sales engineer, with the team at SurgeX, we've really been trying to make sure that dealers are focused on power quality. And what we mean by that is not just protection of power, but controlling for the stability of power and protection, of course. And then, we want to knock down how often our customers are reacting to their clients calling for a service, whatever. Maybe I need to reboot. We want to try to minimize reboots and just reacting in general. So if we can put in a solid power foundation, we protect without contaminating ground, we stabilize power 24/7, we'll knock those reboots, those required reboots down, not necessarily out. So we do end up telling everyone you're going to want some sort of control product. That's your IP addressable power product that you use to, open up an app or, dig in through a cloud-based Domos or Oversee Pro and get to the product and then reboot a device quickly and easily.
Okay.
Right.
Now, like, what would be, in terms of like us, like as integrators or whatnot, how would SurgeX fit into kind of like our arsenal of products exactly?
Amatec, fairly significantly bigger company than what we were, ESP and SurgeX,
Okay.
in January of 16 acquired us.
Okay.
And they've got a whole massive division that deals with power. They do big battery backups for nuclear refineries. They do battery backups for MRI and blood work. And I heard about these incubator machines in the NICU. And what I mean to get to is that battery backup is one aspect, and it's an important aspect of how we approach the business. We want to stabilize power. And that right there is really helped us, because everywhere in the country, no matter who I ask, maybe ask you guys, do you think your power is stable where you're at?
Actually, no. It's funny that you should say that. Like, I don't. The electrical system in the United States, from what I understand, is, antique. It's old. It's got some things. So, solar and battery backups, they're going to be really essential in the future.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Kevin, how about you in Nova Scotia? I actually haven't interfaced with too many in Nova Scotia. So
yeah, I mean, I'm probably one of the few around here, but like I've lived in this house for 2 years and I haven't had a single power outage. So,
well, that's good. How about, have you ever noticed if your lights, either of you, do your lights ever go kind of dim and then back up?
Yep.
They do.
Yep. I mean,
Kevin, has that ever happened to you?
It has, it's a few times, yeah.
So that's not a full-on power outage, right? But what those lights are telling you is that you've just witnessed a sag in voltage. Now, if that's something that occurs multiple times a day, you may be in a home that's underserved with the amount of utility coming into either your home or your neighborhood, your development, your area of the city or county that you're in, the province that you're in. So battery backup is definitely key to try to make sure that whatever sensitive products we have in a job, those are connected to a stabilized output 24/7 so that we see 120 volts all the time. And I'm going about it the long way. You asked me, do I have something for, integrators? And really we do. We've got from the big scale, and that's where I kind of started with Amatec's relationship, that they bring to us. Somebody asked me once a few years back, do you have something that could run a whole house? The answer is yes. The question is, how much would you like to spend? And the gentleman asked me, he said, well, you don't even know how big my home is. I said, well, we can run a nuclear refinery. I'm pretty sure that translates to we can run your whole estate, really. And we were put to task, so we do have options that are, into the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. And we've quoted this out in the last couple of years, which is a new world to me. But we come all the way down from that to, for under $2,000, we have something just about for every system.
Wow.
And that's not one box. Yeah, that's not one box.
Yeah.
That's the foundation plus the control of power.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is why this is really important. Like, this. I mean, you're the backup for the nuclear. For the nuclear supplies. Like you're the backup for like the most reliable form of electricity. So stepping it down to from a couple $1,000,000 to $2,000, which is what most people do need. Like I do have some vague knowledge of like Tesla power walls and stuff like that, and I hear that they're around 20,000. Even that is still not that attainable for like the average Joe. So if you can come all the way down to 2,000, that's pretty good.
And I mean,
Yeah, and all it is. Oh, Kevin, yeah.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, it's especially in our shoes, like if we install, let's say, security cameras, you want those running 24/7, 365, right? So that's definitely a reliable power source is exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, and any fluctuation in voltage can mess those components up really, really easily.
Exactly.
Yeah, the especially with security cameras, you definitely do not want a power outage. And we do hear from the field, whether it's talking to a state manager or client rep or the homeowner on occasion, we'll hear things like, well, I'm good. I've got a generator. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, but it's going to take like 8 seconds for that thing to kick on. And then it's got to stabilize. So you're not good. And quite frankly, so then you think, well, I'll just put a UPS in the system. Okay, well, be careful there too, because UPSs that were line interactive UPSs that we're probably as a channel of business we're the most familiar with, and it's everybody's brands. We make them. All the other name brands and power make them.
APC,
but you just want to be careful not to pick, if you can help it, a line interactive UPS. You really want a dual conversion online UPS, because that thing is going to be working for you 24/7. It's always doing something. It's always stabilizing power, because it's going from AC to DC and recreating then from DC to AC. It's regenerating power. It knows that it can give you 120. It doesn't have to wait for a power outage to then transfer over to battery, then be able to regulate 120. Does that make sense?
So what I hear from that sounds like the connection is seamless. So like if you were to have like some sort of, I want to get into that too, like that sagging voltage. Like if you do have some kind of sagging voltage, like the UPS is right on. You don't have to worry about anything like that. Like, because I have a tablet on my refrigerator. Even I can't even afford for my refrigerator to go down like that too. So this is it's really good stuff. You need this for your home.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I just a question for myself. Like, I know there's trends in different smart home areas and whatnot. Like, I don't know how common trends are in like power solutions and whatnot, but is there any trends currently or things that you see upcoming?
I think okay. There's so much here. I don't want to bore anybody to death. Power's not the most sexy of product categories, but man, it's extremely important. Extremely important.
Yes.
And I always wear it when I do things like this, or even when I'm talking to an integrator, maybe for the first time, I wear my Access Networks hat. And the reason I do that, 12 years ago, roughly, everyone in this business, CDA channel, said, oh my goodness, network is so important. If we don't make sure we've got a solid network, the customer's experience is going to go to crap. Okay, well, back then, we didn't have that much. If you look at the number of devices, that list really grew. I'd say in the last 7 years, 7 to 10 years. And now everything going in the rack, it seems, has some sort of Ethernet connection on it. Yep. So companies went from, well, we can no longer use Linksys, Netgear, brands off the shelf at your local retailer. We should go to Apple. That was like 10, 12 years ago, maybe even 9 years ago. And then as the list of devices grew, we better get an even more robust network. And so dealers know. They got their brand. It's Ubiquity, Luxel, Access, Arachnus. They got their brand, and they are going to use it. No matter if the homeowner says, I got my own network. Oh, no, If you're going to use your network, then we're not doing this job. That's how adamant dealers get.
Yeah.
Well, we're there with power. And dealers really need to make sure that the discussion isn't about quantity, and this is how I hear it all the time. You're a dealer, customer has a problem, the TV it went black. Oh, we got to reboot the Apple TV, right? It's the Apple TV. We do a reboot of the Apple TV, boom, it's working. If that were to happen multiple times a week, or you're swapping out a source of some sort 4 or 5 times, but you don't do that anywhere else, why is it? Is it network? Is it temperature? Is it possibly power? Right. Well, you suggest it's power. We should probably get an electrician out. Well, the customer's first reaction is looking up, no, my lights are on. What doesn't work is the thing you put in. Come back over here and fix that, you know? And so it's that ongoing. So the pandemic, as bad as this whole past year has been, horrible. It really, I think, has helped people connect the dots from I'm sitting in my office only for an hour and I don't see these power things. But now I'm in my office, my home office, for 8 hours. And I'm watching the lights go down and back up. And hey, something just happened with some of this gear. Oh, you know what? That guy used to say it was power. He's probably right. And we get calls. We've been getting them heavily since last May. We need to come up with a solution that will help stabilize power, to clean up the power, to give us better power quality. Those are verbiage. That's verbiage I would have used to a dealer. Maybe a dealer used it to the homeowner. Now the homeowner's using it back.
Good.
And it's really helped to jumpstart the discussion and put a focus on power quality.
And again, and like I said, and it really, exactly, because it really highlights, the lapses of what the, current electrical infrastructure is. And it brings light to like all those different sorts of, different sorts of alternative powers. That's a good segue question now that I'm thinking about it. Would you need like a SurgeX power conditioner if you had like a, some sort of solar to, grid switch back and forth type of device? I'm sorry for I'm ignorant to it, but
No, listen, another thing I hear from the CDA channel, I'm no expert in power. And by the way, I'm not either. I learned from hundreds, probably thousands of discussions since, I joined this company. And prior to this company, I was with a couple other power brands for 6 years. So over time, you get enough from the field to not be a master at it, but you get some experience, you get some expertise.
Where you can connect the dots. Right.
And interestingly enough, Sonnen contacted me through Ozium. We're both in that buying group, and we're going to do a joint presentation on St. Patty's Day. And the reason is, and I told Jess yesterday while we were kind of looking at what we were going to say, I said, I'm so glad that we're doing this because the market out there thinks you got to use Race Point Energy or SurgeX, Sonnen or SurgeX, Tesla or SurgeX. And in all of those cases, they really should be looking at whatever one they choose and SurgeX. And here's the thing, Pat, like a generator wasn't good enough, right? We already agreed on that. Okay, so let's say
lag time, right?
Let's say we have solar. Okay, great. The mains power goes out. Now we're going to transfer over to solar. Well, that wasn't instantaneous. Neither is the transfer over to gas, geothermal, wind, and I hate to say it because, nobody likes to have fun with something as tragic as what happened in Texas when people were, out of power for days. It's freezing in their homes. There's all kinds of I got a little chilly to people were, people died during that. But, they had mains power that went down. The gas pipes froze. They couldn't get access to that alternative power source. The wind turbines froze. They couldn't get access to that alternative resource. So when Jess and I were talking, it's like, man, if you were your home and your home had solar may or may not do you great there, but energy storage and a battery, which is something Sonnen brings to the table, Race Point brings to the table, and others, then you could at least, grab some of that juice to help you through whatever for the most critical load.
Just a little bit of time. Yeah, exactly.
But in every case,
sorry about that.
Well, in every case, we want something to help us transition. I'm sorry, Pat. I meant to tie it back to get to the point of, in every case, while we wait for alternative power sources to come on, could be a couple seconds, could be a minute. we need to transition the customer through, especially for lighting, for automation systems, maybe the most critical appliances. We need to transition them over, through that transfer to the alternative source, and that's where SurgeX comes in. Yeah,
exactly. Like you can go a little bit deeper than that. Like I remember my grandpa used to be at home, and he had he was on at home life support. Just things like that are so needed. Like the redundancy in electricity is that's what makes this so important. Like people worry about the programming and the networks, like you were saying, but you have to remember the bones, like the bones of this stuff. You need redundancy in the bones too, especially if your life is dependent on it, essentially.
Pat, gosh, you just gave me an idea, man. I mean, there's probably a lot of, you hear about it more and more. Folks are going to want to be home. They don't want to go to assisted living centers. They want to be home and be taken care of at home. That is a damn good point. I mean, and I didn't even think about somebody's life being on the line at the house, other than freezing, but
because there's so many, like, these hospitals now are overtaxed, everybody's living longer. All that stuff is happening. And a lot of the technology is so that, people can pretty much take care of themselves and things are connected to other things. But, could you imagine like an EKG machine that's constantly reporting to some nurse hub or something like that? Like, I don't even know if that thing exists yet, but I tell you what, I would want that to be backed up with a gosh darn power supply or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a damn good point.
Yeah.
That's a good way to sell that too. Because with the smart home industry, there are a lot of older people that, and I'm trying to figure out ways to sell to them, because I think that helps them the most. Like that's what the initial smart home industry started out with, the clapper. You have, and that was just basically for older people to, whatever, not have to get up. So, integrating all of that stuff plus the redundancy of, the power draw and for power sag and stuff like that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's that's a missing piece.
Exactly. And I just want to tie it back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to kind of tie it back to the trends. So Pat and I were talking, and is there anything that, like, let's say customer leaves an oven on, for example, it kind of just kicks off the power after a certain amount of time. It's like for like safety and whatnot. Like, do those products actually exist at the moment, or?
Or is that a SurgeX thing?
You could set a trigger up on certain products, and looking at what's available in the market. You have certain companies like Savant that has relays that tie to breakers. So like an oven, that's a big load. You wouldn't put an oven on a IP addressable SurgeX piece that's only rated for up to 20 amps. The oven's going to be 30 amps, maybe more. But you could find something from a company like maybe Savant with the relays and their breakers, if they had the ability to say, oh, we were drawing 10 amps and now we're down to 1, and we've been at 1 idle for, I don't know, like you said, 30 minutes, an hour. And I guess if you wanted to set that trigger up, you're doing it for that reason of, we probably left it on accident. Like a motion sensor for lighting. Nobody's in the space. When it's not occupied, it's off.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm sure you could do that. Now, trend wise, I will say being off the grid seems to be a kind of trend, not being reliant upon the grid. So Pat's example of solar, when we talk about geothermal, wind, generator, for sure, generators are through the roof. It used to be maybe a seldom thing. Now it's a rarity not to see a generator.
Exactly.
But being less reliant upon the grid, and yes, you keep saying it, Pat, the grid is extremely taxed, extremely old, and it is not going to get any better. They can't build or upgrade quick enough to keep up with the demand, and the demand is just going to keep climbing.
It's so big.
So alternative power supplies are definitely going to continue to be prominent in our life. And then down from the clouds, day to day, there are devices that can help auto heal a system. A lot of IP addressable devices, including devices from us. If we're in a rack and we don't happen to see Google, well, that'd be a big problem. Google's generally up without issue, and we don't see them after pinging 3 times. We could take a few devices down in sequence and bring them back up. Nobody had to touch it. If that's what you want to do is not have to touch it, then you probably want an auto healing, type of IP addressable product. Okay. Down the road, it would be even better if we could help predict that something's about to fail. And so we talk about trends, load shedding, using alternative power sources, load shedding, so you're not, driving the entire home when you only really need 3 things to work, maybe the fridge, maybe the radio, your telecom system, your surveillance system. Predictive analytics, I think, would be probably the next step for power, and being better at servicing your client before they even know something happened. You could run a report at the end of the month that said, we had to swap this box out because we had 100 notifications that, possibly the power supply was going bad.
Yeah.
Right. So things like that, Kevin, I think will continue to push the power side further along.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. See,
that
I
makes
feel
sense.
like
that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like I've been like talking to a few different guys, and I feel integrators don't take power as seriously as they should. Like I've noticed, like people say, "Oh, we offer security cameras, we offer alarms, we offer like thermostats, things of that nature." But I never hear people say we offer power solutions, right? So I feel that's obviously that's the bone of your system, and that should probably be taken more seriously.
Yeah, infrastructure is so critical, and network and power are biggies. And if folks are not experts in power, they might shy away from it. Just like when they weren't experts in network, they probably shied away from it. But they've and you could kick and scream all you want. You had to get educated about networking, otherwise you're probably out the door, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So power, if you're not an expert, it's okay. We have a diagnostic tool that we've been shipping forever called Envision that you simply plug in. You collect 30 days of data and you let somebody at SurgeX see it. And we help you with, do we see an issue with regards to power quality? Yes or no. If we do see an issue, do we think it might be electrical related? Maybe the wiring in the home? A lot of times, that comes up. Sometimes we found more and more of these logs come in. It's the transformer. It's the service outside the home coming in. So if a dealer were to simply say, for this very moment in time, I used a voltmeter and Fluke said I have 120 and the lights are on, and I put my rack in and everything lit up, I'm done. I'm out of here. Right?
Yeah.
You get a call 6 months later. Wacky stuff's going on. What's going on with this stuff you put in my home? Well, sometimes I actually, 2017, I think it was, maybe 18, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and I have to meet dealers at Starbucks so much. And I'm going, what's going on? And my rep's like, because they're so damn busy, they got to meet you like in between jobs, or you got to meet them at the job. And it used to be we'd meet at their office. Yeah. Well, I kept hearing that whole week I'm in Nashville back then, we don't get it. We did this home, everything was fine, and months later, we're getting issue after issue. And then you dig in, you're like, oh, you got new developments going on in Nashville left and right. So big home goes in, lots of stuff gets put into the home. You light up the rack, everything's fine. You're on a transformer. 3 more homes get built within the next, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. They're all pulling from the same source. So there's your taxed infrastructure, right? So if they all pull from the same source, and then we start seeing voltage sags, right? And those voltage drops, 10 volts or more, can cause products that need to be rebooted. Very sensitive products.
That's the tolerance too. Yep, it's like 10 volts or more. Yep.
So we want to try to account for that whenever possible. But that's what's going on out there. A lot of times is we're chasing after something. We continue to react and reboot rather than say, I wonder what's causing it. So grab an Envision diagnostic tool and actually starting
Envision
next
diagnostic.
week. Envision, yep, ENVISION. And then we have a new product coming. Actually, guys, we haven't announced this to anybody. I just got word today that next week, Monday, we'll start shipping on a regular basis this product called Squid.
Okay.
And Squid is something that you can mount to the rack or behind a TV or under a conference room table that will collect data, right, on power quality,
Nice.
Okay.
just like this Envision
Nice.
tool. It goes on the network without having to buy a dongle, and that's what Envision today. You'd have to buy a dongle separate from the product if you wanted to leave it on site.
Okay.
So it's
Right.
a real handy product, but the bonuses, other than collecting all this very detailed information about power, it has 4 rebootable AC outlets, and it has where you can cut the wall wart and put the copper right into a DC bank of ours that we can also reboot and
Mhm.
protect. So we'll protect your wall wart. You don't have that big honking thing on the back of some 1RU or vertical strip or whatever. It's going to be straight in
Right,
with the
right.
copper leads. That's pretty cool. There's not many
Yeah.
products out there that will allow you to reboot DC.
Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of ways to like kind of put that in. That's wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
gotta
the
look into that. Yeah.
That was-
power quality information is something that, to your point, Kevin,
Yep.
dealers really need to dig into. Let's get a benchmark. If for no other reason,
Right.
maybe you think everything's great. Okay, fine. Let's see. Plug the thing in, leave it for 30 days, and you know what? If it's great, it's great. If things change 6 months from now, put it back in. Or hopefully you
Right.
left it there. Hopefully you left it there. Because if you
Right,
left it
right.
there, you could go back 6 months and say, well, month number 1, everything was fine. About 2 months ago, we started seeing whatever we're seeing, power
Right.
events, anomalies, and we time and date stamp all this. So we'll have a trend for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that justifies the sale, man. Like, I'm just thinking about that. And like, matter of fact, I have a client of mine in Delaware. He's a new construction house, and he wants a home theater system in there. And just to be able to back that up, and I mean, it's a brand new construction. Like you said, these things are popping up all over where you have these vulture sags and stuff like that. That needs to be that's justifiable redundancy there, right there. That's what I hear. So that's pretty good stuff, man. Like,
Absolutely.
it's a reason to keep that in your house there, and to measure. That's awesome too. Like
Yeah.
you can get a good trend of like what's going on in the neighborhood, and ultimately you blow it up to this sort of smart neighborhood, through all of your reporting and stuff like that. Like it's basically everything talking to everything to make everything more efficient. These little pots and asymptotes, people don't realize until it's time to realize them.
Yeah.
Wow, it's dope stuff. This is dope stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, I
Cool.
feel like there's multiple instances where I can see myself using like SurgeX products and stuff. So it's definitely a cool thing.
And sometimes we get to use the tool to help us sell something, and we're not selling just because we think somebody has money. We're selling because we have data
No,
that shows,
yeah,
and so there's that. And then sometimes we help integrators with like intermittent service issues. They come out, everything's working. They leave, this dang thing stopped working again.
Yeah.
Well, if we would have left the diagnostic tool behind, then we're going to come back anyway. If it wasn't working and now it is, you're coming back. So just leave the diagnostic tool there and see if it's power, and it may or may not be. And then
and that's
utilities.
Sorry about that.
Oh, utilities. Oh, that's nice. You saw 103 volts today. That's great. We'll come out in a month or so. We'll monitor it. Versus, I have 6 pages of data that shows that we drop below 105, 103, 95 volts. It's many, many times a day, many, many times a week. They're going to act on that because that could be harmful to some of the items in your home, and then they're kind of on the hook for that stuff. So
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah,
Perfect. Cool.
just to be able to see that, that's dope. That's really dope. We got to get into that a little bit later on, but okay. You got anything else, Kevin?
No. So what is the just so everybody can find SurgeX? Is there a website? Do you guys have Twitter or Facebook, anything like that?
yeah, we're all over all the social media platforms, including Instagram these days. And then ESPSurgeX.com is our website.
Okay.
ESP. Okay.
Perfect. Well,
Real quick, can I? Sorry. how would can we get like a discount? Like if I wanted to sell that, like I said, I have a person that I want to sell that to. Is there a way, do you have any like discount sites for anything like that?
So here's what I'll tell you. When we present the Envision diagnostic tool, or certainly now Squid, to dealers, and we show them all the information they can record, and then recording, looking at information is one thing. I can, within seconds, give your homeowner or the electrician or the utility a PDF. It could be pages long or a single page. We'll have history of 130 days that we could always look back to. It's rolling. Every half hour, what did we see power do? We're looking at every 3 cycles of power, every 15. It's so precise, this product. And whenever I bring this to somebody and I say, well, how much do you think this would be? And I mean, the guesses, guys, are 600, 800, 1,200, $5,000. I'm like, oh, no. This is below $600 retail.
Hold up. See, that's what I'm talking about. Exactly. I'm sorry. I mean, but like if you have like a home theater or something like that, if you blow up that home theater and have to pay another, $4,000 or $5,000 for a component, you're asking $200 to save a $5,000 component. Like there's your value right there. Sorry about that. I was excited about that while a friend of mine.
It's definitely get up with me through Caster or whatever, and we'll get you connected with the representative of SurgeX in your market, which is for us in your area, Philly, is the Aurora Group. But regardless, if a dealer out there is interested, they just need to contact their SurgeX rep or myself and ask us, how do I get that diagnostic tool? And we'll know exactly what you're talking about. All right.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on our show. Cool. Go ahead, Kev. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank him for joining us, and guess we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Okay, until next time, guys.
Thanks for making it easy on me here.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for making it easy on us.